It's my feel-good breakfast show.
It's a Tuesday morning. Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's great to be in your company now. As we said earlier on, this coming Saturday, the 4th of February, is World Cancer Day. And cancer organizations are calling on everyone to use their influence to help to close the gap in cancer care.
And the goal here is to lower your personal cancer risk through healthy living. Preventative. Now the focus is on smart eating and drinking, participating in regular physical activity, and then avoiding those known cancer-causing agents such as alcohol and tobacco. And here to tell us more ahead of World Cancer Day is a specialist surgeon, Dr. Fatima Hussein, and breast cancer survivor, Carla Steyn. We've got to give them a feel-good welcome to the show.
Yes.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. Why are you nervous, Carla? Why are you nervous?
I think it's natural to be.
No, we're also a little bit
don't
nervous
worry
because it matters. It matters to you and it matters to us, which is amazing. So thank you so much to both of you for being here this morning.
Dr. Hussein, perhaps we could start off with you in learning to understand exactly what cancer is. I think we've spoken a lot in previous times about, the causes of cancer and so on, but I don't know if we've really broken it down to what cancer really is.
So cancer is actually just the unregulated growth of abnormal cells. So it's one cell undergoes some sort of change. It becomes abnormal. Your body is unable to clear it for some or other reason. Maybe the protective mechanisms that are in place don't work properly, and so it's unable to clear that abnormal cell. And then that abnormal cell has the ability to divide, and then it just keeps dividing and
multiplying as a result.
And multiplying, exactly, and taking up the space that the normal body organ cells take up.
Okay.
And then in doing so, it requires its own blood supply, it requires its own, because it requires nutrition to grow and things like that. It requires oxygen, like all things.
And that's starving the rest of your body
That's
of that
starving
leech.
the rest of your body, exactly. It's exactly like a leech, only worse, because it does eventually kill you.
Carla, it sounds all so simple when you break it down into words over a few sentences. What went through your mind when that word came out? When you heard cancer in your own little bubble, what was that experience like? What went through your mind?
So I started crying, first of all. But it wasn't so much the shock of it, but fear. Obviously, I think the general idea matched with cancer is fear. People hear the word and they think death or suffering or anything like that. So definitely fear. I was very fearful. But in retrospect, she was the one, obviously, to break the news, being like, this is what's happening, you have cancer, it is aggressive, but also, this is what we're going to do. Yeah. So immediately off the beating track, she had a plan, which was soothing. To say the least.
What a plan.
That support structure.
As long as you have a plan, there needs to be a plan.
At such a critical time as that. And Dr. Hussein, as in Carla's specific case, it was breast cancer. What are you looking for in terms of signs, in particular, with regards to breast cancer?
So it's similar for all people, over all age groups. Of course, as you get older, we encourage you to go for screening because the earlier you pick these things up, the early cancers actually don't have any signs. So that's kind of when you want to pick them up.
Right.
But if you are young or haven't gone for screening, then the things you're looking for are a palpable lump, so a lump, like a little ball or marble or something that you can feel inside the breast or anywhere under the axilla, along the way up to the axilla. The axilla is your armpit. Some dimpling of the skin, thickening of the skin, we call it the pure d'orange, or it actually just the orange peel appearance, so it looks like a thickened, leathery appearance of the skin. Nipple changes, so your nipples are normal, or now they're suddenly indrawn, or nipple discharge, especially if it's unilateral, like meaning on the one side. That's something that you should worry about, or at least go and have it checked out. Finding things is good. Not doing something about it, that's the bad part of that.
I think a lot of us have this fear. It's the most irrational fear. We know something's wrong, yet we don't want to go to a doctor because we don't want to know. We don't want to know the big evil truth. When you found out that big evil truth, you said fear was one of the first things that must have been overwhelming. First step, get practical, deal with it. What else allowed you to move forward? What was that mantra that you told yourself, the person that stepped in? What was that thing that allowed you to be able to take those steps and be proactive?
Well, I think the first thing I did before being diagnosed with breast cancer was I did a self-examination to add to what she said, which is very important. I think not enough women do it, and we need to do it regularly. Obviously then got my diagnosis. I was like, oh, my life is over. It feels like a death wish.
Sure.
And I just, after the initial shock and fear, but which is a continuous emotion, I just consciously decided that it's either me or cancer. And I have two very young kids, so it's you have a lot to fight for, but you also need to realize what that is. So if not fighting for your own life, because that is what you're doing. You are in actuality fighting for your life, and you're fighting against cancer. So you need to decide. I feel that you need to consciously decide that this is what you're going to do, and you need to focus your mind on the right things. And that should be those of like, you need to be, I'm going to beat this. I got this. I got this. I will make it.
We love that attitude.
Yeah? And I need me.
Yeah, exactly.
I need me.
Well, I told you.
So glad
Goosebumps
that you,
come back again. Unreal.
So glad that you made that choice and that you're here sharing that story with us, because I'm sure it's going to inspire so many people out there. And we hope that you do find this conversation enlightening. Please share your thoughts with us on our voice note line, 063-408-8863. We'll be right back.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show on this Tuesday, where our focus is firmly on health, and we are focusing on Cancer Day, which is marked on the 4th of February, this coming Saturday. And we're hanging out with specialist surgeon Dr. Fatima Hussein, as well as breast cancer survivor Carla Steyn, and they're still here this morning. We, of course, would love to hear from you as well, as we reflect on statistics, the fact that currently about 8.2 million people die from cancer worldwide every year, and out of which 4 million are people aged between the ages of 30 and 69. Quite a shocking statistic.
It is young, a very shocking statistic, and it's changing. I think the medical landscape is changing, so very keen to hear more from the doctor and Carla. But right now, of course, Nirmila wants to weigh in, as she does every morning, and we cannot wait to hear from her, all the way from Nkomazi. This is her perspective this morning.
Good morning to my awesome breakfast team, Mrs. Nirmala Devi Modli of Nkomazi. I would say not everyone is ready or prepared to accept the word cancer, especially when it is just pounced on them. But you know what? I have survivors from cancer. I've even lost very dear ones to cancer. But what I saw in all of them, the fighting spirit to overcome their ill health challenge. So do not give in to cancer. You can take yourself higher than cancer. Stay blessed. Have a good day.
Mwah. Oh, we love her.
What a way to start off the morning. And is that a message that resonates with you, Carla, when you hear that? Yeah?
Absolutely. In its entirety. Yeah. You need to add it to what she said is, like I said earlier, you are fighting for your life and you need to keep on fighting. But yes, you need to know and accept, first of all, accept what's happening to you. You need to acknowledge what's happening and feel what you feel. If you feel sad or depressed or worried or anxious, or you need to accept.
Work through that.
Yes, just go through it, because it's all part of the healing journey. You need to be true to what you feel. And if you feel like, because obviously chemotherapy sucks.
It's hectic.
You feel terrible afterwards. The nausea is, it's not like you're nauseous and you take a tablet and it's over and you feel better. No, it's continuous. You feel queasy all the time. So it can be very weighing down on you, feeling terrible all the time. So when you feel bad, it's more difficult to be positive, for your attitude to be that of fighting, as opposed to just giving in and accepting that this is what's happening and I need to just, you know, let the cancer take over. And I just refused to do that. And I think most people should do the same. But it's not easy. It's not easy. It is difficult. It is challenging.
I've got to say, I love the way that Carla framed it in our last conversation, saying it was a choice of it's either me or cancer. And you chose yourself. And that's a very, very brave step to have taken, despite it being very, very challenging. Dr. Hussein, we heard some of these numbers, 8.2 million people a year,
Sure.
4 million of them being between 30 and 69. And this is like years and years later on with medical advancements that are at work and still developing. Why are the numbers still so high?
Well, for a multitude of reasons. I think one of the reasons is that there isn't screening investigations for all people or for all different types of cancers, and the screening that is in place is for specific demographics where the risk is the highest. So, for example, Carla wouldn't have qualified for screening, actually. She's 32. She hypothetically didn't have any risk factors prior to her her being diagnosed. She's very young, she's in the prime of her life. It wouldn't necessarily have been something that we would have looked for. Of course, it's different for BRCA carriers, and if you know that you are a gene mutation carrier, those people we screen. But for the majority of the population who's under 40, we don't necessarily screen them for breast cancer or for prostate cancer. We don't screen people under 40 for prostate cancer, for colon cancer, things like that, unless there's specific risk factors. So in the younger age groups, especially, we see far more aggressive types of cancers, which completely makes sense. So you're actually waiting for the symptoms, and when the symptoms actually arise, it's usually more at an advanced stage, the tumors.
Carla, I'm going to round off with you because you are just amazing in this. It seems like such a simple switch has flicked in your mind, and I'm dying for that to be opened up for other people who are in your position. If you can, and I know it's almost impossible to sum this up in words, but if you could offer advice to someone who is about to start the journey that you've been on, what would that advice be?
Well, first of all, that I didn't mention earlier is obviously when being diagnosed, you feel like there's a lot of things happening that's out of your control. So what I did was I decided I'm going to take small measures to, even if only making myself feel like I'm taking back control. So when I was diagnosed, I decided to cut off all my hair. I had like a very big, bushy, curly, lots of hair, lots and lots of hair. And I decided that I'm going to cut it all off. So short.
Your choice.
A bit longer than it is now. And so that was the first thing I did. And then when my hair started falling out, I decided I'm going to shave it all off. So it was, I decided, it was my decision. So even if it's only small measures that you take to make you feel like you are more in control, it all adds up. And then also surround yourself with people that is like-minded in the sense of you got this.
Yeah.
You're going to beat this.
Yeah.
This. It's not the end. This is just the beginning of a new journey. It's not going to be a nice one. It's going to be tough, but you will be better for it. And you will be stronger at the end of the day. So surround yourself with people that's like-minded, that will support you, that will encourage you. I know you don't have hair, but you're still beautiful. You're still a woman, even if you've lost everything that you feel is that which makes you a woman. You are still you. You're just a newer version of you.
An upgrade.
Wow.
An upgrade. A healthy upgrade.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
and what you just said,
So-
I think, is so applicable to so many aspects of life, never mind just cancer, but in general in life. That's beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing that. We hope that is, certainly inspiring you at home. 0634088863. Send us your voice notes. We would love to hear from you. We'll be back again with Dr. Hussein and Carla very shortly.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for rejoining us. We wrap up our discussion ahead of World Cancer Day with specialist surgeon Dr. Fatima Hussein and breast cancer survivor Carla Steyn, and now both good friends of the show. We've taken so much out of this conversation already, and a couple of eye-openers. I think here in the country, in fact, and this might surprise a lot of you, certainly someone at my age, approximately 1 in 6 breast cancers occur in women younger than 40 years old. And I think a lot of us think that these these sorts of moments happen later in life. Proper and relevant breast health across all age groups, absolutely vital, but testing and being aware of your own body seems even more important. And of course, we put it to you guys to please weigh in on our WhatsApp line, and it sounds like we've got someone, Theo, weighing in with this insight.
Good morning. I've got a cousin that's currently in hospital that have lung cancer. He's very, very ill. He's got lesions, small lesions on the brain also. I wanted to know if there is any hope for him. See that he had a stroke also, and he was supposed to get his chemo yesterday, but they couldn't because they found out that he's got swelling on the brain. What I wanted to know is what causes the swelling on the brain. Can you please just give me information about that? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that voice note, Theo. Dr. Hussein, is this something that you could comment on?
So it does happen in many different types of cancers where the cancer does spread to other organs. Unfortunately, in this case, it sounds like it has spread to the brain. And like I said before, this is the abnormal growth of cells. And these cells then take up space. And as you know, the skull is in a very enclosed space. It's a very limited space, exactly. So when these tumor cells grow, they take up the space that the brain is supposed to take up, which then can cause the swelling and the stroke, etc., and other side effects or other complications. And then, unfortunately, things like chemotherapy, etc., can get delayed. But it will depend on what treatment is planned for the patient further. And I think that is a discussion that the patient and family needs to have with the doctor.
Yeah. We've been having conversations just off air talking about, closing the gap on cancer care as is the theme of this year's World Cancer Day. And early detection, we've said over and over again, is one of the key things. Let's talk about lowering the risks or your chances of getting cancer, if that's even possible. What can one do?
Well, it's exactly what your whole segment is planned about. I think eating healthier, if we start living a little bit more healthy, that can definitely decrease our risk to a certain extent. Exercising, try to get to your ideal body weight and or if you are at it, luckily, try to maintain that body weight. Decrease smoking, decrease alcohol intake, just kind of, I think, live a little bit more healthy. Be aware of your risk, do regular breast self-examination or self-examination in terms of your other risk factors. And then if you do have a symptom or something that you feel is abnormal and it is persistent, if it's there for longer than a month, I would not sit on something. Rather go and have it checked out, because early detection, as Carla has also put in there, it goes a very long way in terms of treatment.
It's almost the key here. It's almost the key.
Exactly.
Carla, once again, we're going to round off with you, and you're going to save the planet with these words. Now, I've got to ask, because you really hit, I don't want to say a nerve, but you hit something deep inside of me when you said there is a new improved version of yourself coming out now. What were those areas of improvement? What is better about you now because of what you've been through?
Well, first of all, I'd say I am more humble in the sense that I think people tend to be ignorant in thinking that something bad can't or won't ever happen to you, which is not the case at all. I think people need to be more aware of themselves and their bodies. Like Dr. Hussein said, you're the one that's been living with yourself for the longest time. So you'll know when something's not right, when it's not supposed to be, there's something that's not supposed to be there, or you feel there's a cramp or a pain, just have it checked out. But I think for the most part, I've become more, I'm not entirely sure on the word, more humble, first of all, more self-aware, and more in tune to the emotions of others as well. Because even if I am the one having the cancer, even if I'm the one that's going through treatment and I feel terrible and it's bad, it's easy to forget that our loved ones are also suffering. It's not nice for them to see us suffering with losing our hair and sitting on the couch in the middle of the night crying because you feel like you can't do this anymore, and looking at your kids and thinking, what if they grow up without a mom? And it's all those fears. So hence why I think it's very important to have a very, very strong support system, support group, even if it's only one person. It doesn't need to be a lot. In my case, I was fortunate enough, I have quite a few, and my team, my cancer team as I call them, is also very supportive. So in retrospect, it is very, very important.
Yeah, and I can say from an outsider's perspective, you are a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was something that existed within you before, but right now, looking at you, a source of inspiration for so many of us. So thank you for coming to the show to share your experience with us. And
Thanks for having us.
Dr. Hussein, thank you as well.
Thank you for having us.
I think you were a warrior when you walked in those doors, actually. I don't think that was an upgrade. I think that was there all along. But please keep sharing your thoughts and insights with us on all of our social media platforms. We'd love to hear from you and to continue the conversation.